अच्छा ये वाला है कि what is meant by the term order of reaction? So it's just the exponent of the concentration of a reactant in a rate equation. Uh, Construct a rate equation for this reaction. Uh, Now it's very easy because they've given you everything. The reaction is found to be first order with respect to this. तो सब कुछ तो दिया हुआ है, तो rate is what? It's equal to K. This is a ketone, so that's CH3CO. CH3 and its क्या power है? It's order 1. And with respect to H plus 1, उसने कहा है कि H plus 1 के respect से it's also order 1. And it's 0 order with respect to I2. So that means you don't have to write I2. लिख दो तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, लेकिन it's when something has a power of 0, that means it's basically not there. ठीक है? As a okay, the following sketches show 3 ways in which the concentration of reagents might vary during the reaction. Which of the above graphs correctly describes how the concentration of a reaction changes with time for propanone? Propanone order 1 है. Order 1 का ग्राफ किस तरह का होगा?
B.
A.
A होगा. Order 1 का मतलब है when you have order 1, that means the half life is constant. Order 1 का मतलब है rate of the reaction depends on this thing. ठीक है? So जब उसकी concentration decreases, the reaction slows down. ठीक है? So you have a constant half-life. ठीक है? It just keeps on slowing down. ठीक है? So it's going to be A. और यहाँ पे iodine it's 0 order. So how would the graph look like if you plot how iodine changes with time?
B.
B.
हाँ, ये B होगा क्योंकि iodine के ऊपर डिपेंड ही नहीं कर रहा. So if iodine decreases, this rate will not decrease. So if iodine is decreasing, the reaction is not slowing down. It just decreases at a constant speed. ठीक है? Normally क्या होना चाहिए था? If iodine gets used up, the reaction should slow down. ठीक है? But 0 order में it does not slow down. It has no effect on the rate of the reaction. So 0 order is this one. So this is B.
Sir,
Yes.
could you explain graph C?
C is completely wrong. Because obviously when you have a reaction and when a reaction is going on, right? So what happens to the reactant? It gets used up, right? So it will never remain constant. It's always going to get used up. It's only going to remain constant in one instance, which is when you add it in large excess. ठीक है? लेकिन assuming you haven't added it in large excess, reactions always get used up. So they would always decrease. ठीक है? तो वो जो 3 graphs थे ना, they're going to look something like this. वो मैं फिर से दिखा देता हूँ किधर गया. अच्छा इधर गया. So we did 3 graphs, right? There was order 1. Reaction starts slowing down. Reactant will always get used up. Order 2 was it will slow down too much. The half-life doubles. Okay, it just takes a longer and longer time because the rate depends too much on the reactant, right? And then you had order 0. Order 0 mein tha ke reactant gets used up, but it just gets used up at a constant speed. The speed of the reaction, the rate of the reaction remains constant. Okay. तो ये clear है कि you're never actually going to have C. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
वो जो C वाला ग्राफ था ना, वो था they're actually 2 types of graphs. ठीक है? One is you measure the concentration of a reactant with respect to time as the reaction proceeds. ठीक है? That's one type of graph. The other type of graph is you just basically plot the relationship. तो वो जो constant straight line आती है ना, when you just literally plot the relationship के भी एक ही concentration changes, the rate of the reaction should not change. ठीक है? So I mean, they both represent exactly the same thing, but वो जो axes है ना, they're actually different. तो अगर यहाँ पे time है ना, तो time के साथ the concentration of the reactant should always decrease or go to zero. अच्छा, अब है कि इस पे डायरेक्ट आ जाते हैं. Remember, it's order one. If the rate of the reaction depends on a particular reactant, ठीक है, तो वो reactant किस में होगा, fast step और slow step? If a reactant is zero order, so that means that reactant is it's in the fast step. ठीक है, रिमेंबर हमने पढ़ा था कि फास्ट स्टेप को स्पीड अप करोगे ना, nothing would happen because मतलब if one step is taking 100 seconds and one step is taking 1 second, so if you increase the speed of the 1 second step, the overall speed of the reaction would kind of remain unchanged. Nothing would happen to it. So fast step जो होता है ना, वो irrelevant होता है when it comes to speed of the reaction. ठीक है, it's always the slow step which determines the speed of the reaction. So since the rate depends on these two, they must be in the slow step. Is that clear? और मैं यहाँ पे फिर से रिवाइज करा देता हूँ कि वो कहा था मैकेनिज्म्स, नहीं है तो एंड पे पहुंच गए. हाँ, यहाँ पे हमने जितना भी प्रैक्टिस किया था, I told you that the rate will only depend on the any reactant present in the fast is always zero order. ठीक है, the fast step is irrelevant to increasing the speed of the reaction, and any reactant that's involved in the slow step is order one. Or I told you that the coefficient becomes the power. ठीक है, तो these must be in the slow step and this must be in the fast step. So based on this, so remember iodine को रखना है fast में and H and ketone should be in the slow step. So he's asking you to figure out which is the correct mechanism. So remember iodine has to be in the fast step. So I guess it's I think it's going to be B, right? That iodine is in the fast step, so rate does not depend on the fast step. It depends on the slow step. So H+1 and ketone must be order one. ठीक है, is this clear? So the mechanism is B. But ये part clear
Sir,
है?
can you repeat that?
but ये वाला part clear है कि ये वाला part clear है कि anything that's in the slow step, rate depends on the slow step. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
तो OH ion की अगर if you increase the concentration of OH ion, the overall speed of the reaction, I mean, pretty much nothing would happen to the overall speed of the reaction. Why? कि if you increase the OH ion concentration, तो ये 1 second वाला step speed up हो जाएगा. But that is not what will affect the overall speed of the reaction, क्योंकि वो 101 से कम होके it will still kind of remain approximately 101, right? तो OH का क्या है order? 0 है. Well, it does not affect the rate of the reaction. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
तो हाँ, इसकी concentration अगर बढ़ाओगे ना, तो कौन सा step speed up कर जाएगा? The slow step would speed up. तो if the slow step speeds up, वो 100 seconds से 50 seconds पे आ जाता है, तो overall speed में there's a significant, so that means the rate depends on this thing, right? The rate depends on anything that's in the slow step. Any reactant that's involved in the slow step is what? It's order one. ठीक है, और order zero कौन है? Anything that's involved in the fast step. तो question में ना वो orders तो पहले ही given थे, but he had given you everything, all the information. He gave you the rate equation. तो इन दोनों के ऊपर the rate is dependent on this and this, not on iodine. इसका मतलब है these two are involved in the, I mean, they must be in the slow step, whatever the mechanism is. Let's assume we don't know what the mechanism is, but these must be in the slow step. ठीक है, ये clear है?
Yes, sir.
और it's not dependent on iodine, तो इसका मतलब है iodine must be in the fast step. ठीक है, तो हमें बस इतना पता है कि these two must be in the slow step while iodine must be in the fast step. तो इसलिए मैं I had chosen B के iodine must be in the fast step and the other two must be in the slow step. Is that clear?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
क्योंकि इस वाले में ऑर्डर्स क्या आएंगे? मैंने कहा था कि rate depends on the slow step, right? So rate depends on this step. So that means rate depends on iodine and H+1. While our equation tells us कि it does not depend on iodine. ठीक है? तो ये गलत हो जाएगा. अच्छा इधर ये कि अच्छा इधर ये होगा कि इस वाले में C में why is C wrong? C would be wrong because slow step, right? Rate depends on the slow step. तो rate would depend on what? Rate would depend on iodine, जो कि गलत हो गया. हमने कहा हुआ था कि rate should not depend on iodine, right? अच्छा, it would depend on iodine's concentration and it would depend on the intermediate concentration. Intermediate को IM लिख देते हैं, ठीक है? और मैंने intermediate का क्या कहा था कि the intermediate itself is dependent on H+1 and ketone, right? So वो H+1 और वो जो कीटोन है ना उसको अगर वापस बीच में डाल दो, so that would mean that rate kind of indirectly depends on all of them, right? ये क्लियर है? ये वैसी प्रैक्टिस के लिए कह रहा हूँ कि rate depended on the slow step, so rate depended on iodine and the intermediate, तो मैंने वो लिखा. But I told you when we studied mechanism कि when I say that rate depends on the intermediate itself is formed by these two things, so it indirectly depends on these two things. उसका मतलब है rate indirectly depends on these two things. So is this clear, this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes. और फिर इसमें क्या होगा? Rate is dependent on the slow step, तो rate depends on this and this. वो iodine फिर से आ गया. अच्छा, explanation में खाली आपने लिखना है कि it's just all you have to write is कि the answer is B. Why? Because rate depends on the rate determining slow step. And ketone and H+1 are order 1, so they must be in the rate determining slow step. बस ये है. And rate does not depend on iodine, so it must be in the fast step. बस ये है. फिर ये आसान है कि you've already figured out अच्छा, you've already इसमें वो क्या कह रहा था? Find the value of K. तो he gave you the values. You already have the rate equation. कहाँ पे है rate equation? तो you can plug in the values and you can find the value of K. वो निकल आएगा, ठीक है?